Welcome, everyone. We are so happy we have been able to present Hope to you today, the film that is representing Norway for Academy consideration for the Academy Awards. We are equally delighted to have with us today the director, Maria Sødahl, Andrea Bræin Hovig, who is the female lead of this film, and Stellan Skarsgård, who is the male lead. Thank you very much for joining us today. I am so thrilled to have you with us.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I love this film. It is so unexpected in so many ways, and I'm a chance to talk about that. But what's really interesting, and I think would be really interesting to our viewers, Maria, is that this is, first of all, your second feature, but it's been 9 years since you made your first feature, Limbo. And that's because this story is so personal for you. But I heard a statement from you that you wanted this to be a private story, but not a personal story. And I think that's really relevant because this is your second feature and it's been 9 years, and there's a very good reason it's been 9 years since your first feature.
Yes, I would say probably a little bit the opposite, that I really didn't want it to be a private story. I wanted to have enough distance to what actually happened to me, as it's the most autobiographical project I've ever done. So I wanted to become a personal story, so that it could be, at the end of the day, that it could be a universal story, because I think those two words stick together, personal becoming universal.
So in the first couple of minutes of this Q&A, I'm already confusing everybody.
No, but that's all fine, you know. I think you know, everything which is genuine is personal. But this story is very autobiographical, you know, like the outer plot, etc. It's something which has happened very close to, the story is very close to the real narrative.
Yes, and I find that incredible that you were able to have not only this distance, but this very kind of honest approach to everything, even the main character, Anja, and at times well, certainly not sentimental, but at times I felt it was almost like a genre film. I was on the edge of my seat, obviously going through the different chapters. It was like a thriller, and but most of all, it was a love story. And how did you negotiate all this in terms of, it was your story, it was your family's story, it was a love story with your husband, and yet it is a piece of fiction?
The strange thing is that reality sometimes is, you know, really, really good thrillers and emotional thrillers. And this was the case here, you know, as I'm a writer, I remember, you know, during this very, very exact week, Christmas week, I remember while walking there and knowing I was going to, you know, live for a very short time, thinking, this is just too crazy, all these things happening. It's just, you know, it would have sucked if somebody presented this as a story, you know, and that's quite weird. And as my husband as well is a filmmaker, you know, he could also have those comments, you know, this is just too crazy. And that's, so getting this down to fiction, you know, many times people say, well, but you know, you can't reward her for the script because she's just telling what happened, you know? That's not how it is. That's not how it goes. It's, you know, it's having an experience, and it's choosing, you know, all the angles, choosing, and this is it. I love working with memories. I always do, quite, because it crystallizes, it gives the essence of an emotion, and it takes away all the noise. So it's about you know, finding those exact points of which is true. and very much points which are often unflattering.
It's very honest.
Yeah, often, often difficult to actually, did I really say that? When I think back, looking at her, did I really do that?
And you got confirmation from your family that you did say that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, most of the scenes are very much based on my own memories and recalling emotions and facts, of course, but also stories about how they remembered me, which they remembered from very, very different angles, of course. And this was, they felt very free to draw a picture they had, what they were remembering, because it was 4 years afterwards. It wasn't with the distance in time, 3 years, I'm sorry, yeah. But that's a long time for a child, if you were 5 and then you're 8, it's massive. It's half your life in between.
I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about this one point you referred to that, and we were talking about the nature of creating this script, and the script is incredible. And you wrote the script to Limbo as well as the script to this, of course. And I think there's a question in here for Andrea and Stellan as well. It seemed to me almost like a great adaptation of a novel, in a sense, that for you to consolidate this and make it the art that it is, and for the actors and actress to play this, not mimicking anybody, yourself or your husband, but making it your own. And I just had that kind of thing in my mind, like the greatest adaptations to film that I've seen have never been page by page, of course, especially if they were 300 pages. But so I'd like you to comment on that, and Andrea and Stellan as well.
Well, as Maria said, sometimes reality is so much more crazy than you would believe in if it was fiction. So the amount of time that this film is like 1 week, more or less. Which, if I have read the script and thought that it was fiction, I would think, nah, that's too much. She cannot marry on her birthday, and it's too much. So I found it really refreshing, just to be reminded how crazy reality can be, and I know that Maria is really good at editing, even though the outer plot is true, all the Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve and so on. It's still her choices, and I have great thoughts about Maria when it comes to editing and how to choose the most brilliant stuff. And yes, I adored the script. And also because it was based on a true story. Yeah.
Stellan, I can't help but thinking of, I know I heard this somewhere, I don't know by who, but acting is as much reacting as acting. And it seems that in this film, there was so much that was done non-verbally from your character of Tomas. Could you talk a little bit about, your role and how you were, dealing with it in terms of such a frenetic spouse or a partner who was going through this trauma, and your way of handling this?
Well, you probably heard it from me, I would say, because my whole idea is that since I'm the kind of actor who hates doing monologues, but I love working with other actors and reacting on them. And I also think that in film, you should avoid too much dialogue. I mean, cinema is a different medium. It's not like theater, which is literal. literal. It's I love working between the lines if I have lines, but I also love working without lines. But I must say, when I saw this script, I was thinking that, am I in this? Because I didn't say anything. What do you need me for? But Maria said, yeah, you're in it. It's a love story. So it's a love story between one person, I said. And she explained that she will take care of my reactions to her. So I was basically hired to react to whatever Andrea did. And she did a lot. So there was a lot to react to.
That's true. Yes.
Well,
but I've heard many people, well, it's not, this interview should not be just about, cheering each other, but I think Stellan is brilliant in this film. And many people say that he's so brilliant, not just because he's supporting me, but he has his own story, and I think it's really original what he does. It's so interesting, and I just not for 1 second he loses himself. He's reacting and watching, but you still see that he has his own process, which is really good acting. So yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's really impressive.
And that was my inference, that it is really a great performance with so little verbal aspects. And there's so many intimate and beautiful scenes that, brought me to, if not tears, very watery eyes, and many times. But some of the comic moments as well, or even just simply when you find out about, the terrible prognosis and you walk out and it's like, where did you park? And your expression was like, yes, that's perfect for what it was. You're forgetting where you parked. And there's so many wonderful moments like that. And even the title itself, Maria, is simple and so appropriate at the same time, and maybe to some people a little bit deceptive, because one could look, if not deceptive, I don't mean it in a derogatory way, but multiple meanings in the sense, because it really is a love story, as much as one is sitting there and hoping and the thriller part that there is going to be a happy outcome medically to this, but it is at its core a love story.
Yes. Originally, I thought it was a horrible title. I would never watch a movie called Hope myself. Okay. So it was a working title. So something which was used, during the whole process of developing. And then just for the sound of it, somebody said, "What about Anja's Hope?" Like Sophie's Choice, and then it became stronger and stronger that the title was Hope, and I couldn't give any reasons for why this was a better title than any other title until actually in the editing room, realizing, even then we were not sure. So realizing that it had, the transmission of meaning from the first frame where it's about medical hope, and then turning, during the movie, and turning in the middle of the movie when they realize that they're actually, the principals realize they're part of a love story, which, we can see that before they can see that themselves. Yeah. And then, unconsciously that meaning changes. So when they're talking about medical hope, we are watching, are they able to love each other? Are they able to stand together? So at the end of the day in the church, in the last frame, it's not about surviving or not. It's about, them being able to be together. So, and then when we actually premiered in Toronto, we had it said in front of the movie, it said based on a true story, which is like very generic, something to put in front of a movie. So when we were doing Q&As after the screenings and giving interviews, nobody knew that the storyteller actually, it was me, and I was there, standing there. So if they had known that, they would not be confused, So then it became, we went back to Europe, had premiere in Norway, where we had This Is My Story as I Remember It. Mm-hmm. Which also, helped me as for telling a story about my very closest family. It's my memory. It's not their memory. It's the main character's story. And that helped also in that respect, put the movie where it should be, the story.
Yeah, it turned out to be really a perfect title, ultimately. And I had the same feeling as you when I heard the title, and I went, oh, okay, I've heard that before, but it really is appropriate in that way. Obviously there were so many people who contributed to, the mosaic of what this became, from the music to the cinematography. And there's a couple of things, in particular, the cinematography. My understanding is this is obviously a cinematographer who's worked with some of the greatest directors additionally in the world, and this was handheld. But also from the point of view of the casting, that many of the people were non-professional. I was wondering if you and also Andrea and Stellan could talk a little bit about those two factors and any other factors of the contributors that are not here.
I can say a little bit before you guys. I think that the project in itself had a goal to become unsentimental and to be raw and true, and to have this thriller kind of thing, which is which would make at the end of the day make the audience exhausted.
Yes.
Yeah, physically exhausted, physically. And the thing about, it is about, what's going on in a woman's mind when she knows she's gonna die. And this is, all the characters around her, it has to feel, if we had one actor which didn't sound real, it would have destroyed the mosaic. So using doctors and children, and also some of the other characters, which were amateurs, was a huge project. I would say it was like one of the main focuses in this movie, to be able to mix Stellan and Andrea as very trained actors together with these people and to make them be in the same universe.
Well, Andrea, what was that experience like with you working with non-professional cast? Have you done that before? And obviously you've worked in many genres.
Yes, I've worked quite a lot with children, which I love to do. I think sitting in these actual hospital rooms in Oslo with actual doctors gave me really unexpected authenticity, which I don't know if I think it's brilliant. And of course actors can say that I can do anything. I can be a cynical doctor or unsentimental, or we can do anything. I agree, but to be an actual nurse, which comes on set with a lot of nerves, or it cannot be. It gave me so much working with those doctors and nurses and children, of course. But I mean, especially the health professionals, which I don't know if is the right word, but when they arrived in these actual hospital rooms, it's I will never forget. It was exhausting, but really interesting.
Well, a director that taught me more about acting than any other director was the Swedish director Bo Widerberg. I don't know if you remember him from Elvira Madigan and Joe Hill and those films. But he said to me, and it was me and a couple of really skilled actors, and we're going to do a film with him. And he said to us, I don't want to see your fucking tools. I want you to be as good as the amateurs will be that I have in the film. And that I carry that around with me all the time, because it's you have your tools, but the moment you show your tools, to me, the illusion is gone. So it's very, if you're trained and skilled, it's very hard to hide your tools. But when you work with amateurs, they force you to become as real as they are, which is fantastic. Because if you start acting a little, you're exposed immediately. But another thing with those doctors, you know, if you have like 10 doctors and you have 10 actors playing 10 doctors, they're all trying to play doctors. A doctor is never playing a doctor. A doctor is. And that is something different. And those characters were so specific. And an actor would like to also show a little of the background, have a backstory, show the psychology behind. A doctor never wants to show it the background. A doctor never wants to show who he is behind, because he has to guard himself. So I think it was brilliant. And I love working with amateurs or very good actors.
Yeah, I agree. Perfect match. My favorite as well.
And in regarding the crew and the cinematography, it seems like, I wouldn't say, you know, I would compare it to, you know, when we first saw Breaking the Waves, Stellan, that type of camera work, but it is handheld, if I'm correct. And it seems more like, you know, a dance. How was that actually filmed, and how did that work for, you know, two experienced actors like yourself that have done large movies, small movies, theater, etc. I just, if you could kind of comment on the cinematography.
I like, but to me it was, I mean, I've worked with Lars von Trier, which is basically you do what you want and he captures it. And the cinematographer here, Manuel, he has also worked with Lars von Trier, and I worked with him on a Lars von Trier film. So I felt at home, and I feel it's lovely. I'm very conscious of where the camera is all the time, because I know too much. But I really, if it's a good operator of the camera, then that camera becomes a part of the scene. It becomes another actor. It becomes another color in the scene, and so I loved it a lot.
Maria, any kind of comments? And you did refer to it in terms of the choices and what you were trying to do, and not make it a sentimental film. And,
Yeah,
and I think that's part of it.
Yeah, I think, you know, Manuel also did Limbo. So we had been working together earlier. I think, you know, this movie, it looks like a location movie, very much, people say. But it's actually their apartment, the family apartment, which is like 40% of the movie, is in studio. It's shot in studio, huge studio. And, you know, to be able to merge locations and studio, you have to find a way to do this, you know, where you never feel that studio thing going on. So I think the handheld inside, you know, we could have made, you know, crazy shots there because it's a studio, but just keep it in the same language, visual language, as we do wherever we are in the movie. That was also something we decided very early, and we have no dolly, it's only handheld, and you know, through the whole movie. And also because of this urge of you know, getting exhausted and being very close. It's quite I haven't seen the movie for a very long time, but I remember the second time I saw it, I've seen it twice, and the second time I saw it, I thought, this movie is very, you know, it's very close. There's no air. It's very, you know, and that, yeah, in a way. Although we don't have like really close-ups that much actually, but still it's very close. And we talked about that, but not so much. We talked much more about, you know, being him being part of the actors, being in the situation, that you should never feel anything manipulating you as an audience, not the camera work, not there's no score, only source music. You know, the sound is not very much manipulating, but when they do, it's really, you know, it's effective. When suddenly in the church, when they just watch each other and the sound disappears, and there's sound design in the very first time in the movie, then it really works, because that's the moment in the movie which is very, yeah, that's what it's all about, you know, this moment. And if that wouldn't work, there wouldn't be a movie, I would say. Yeah.
I wouldn't feel right if we didn't talk a little bit about the supporting cast, and particularly, you know, the family, from the kids to the grandfather. They really were genuine, and it was lovely to see them. And the scenes in the apartment particularly look so right, and everything, that you didn't even think about it. You're naturally like in this apartment with 6 kids. Well, maybe there weren't 6 all living there at the same time. I'm not sure. I'll have to see it again, which I'm looking forward to. But could you as well as the actors talk about, you know, working with the children and the other cast members?
First of all, I just say we had a really good casting director, finding all these great amateurs, non-professionals, and yeah.
Yeah, because those scenes are so intimate with the kids, especially when you start from the moment of being honest with them and telling them what was going on, as difficult as it was.
Yes, I tried to get an individual relation with all 6 of them. That was really important to me. So we went on this trip into this cottage in the woods, and the kids, they were so generous, and they shared stories about their own lives and their own families, how they grew up with siblings, or, you know, stepmom, or these modern families. And so they were so generous to me with their stories, and that made me generous with them, and I felt so safe with them, all 6 of them. So I felt really privileged working with them. And you know, they were really different ages. Alfred, the smallest one, and up to Steinar, and, you know, the grown-ups. So I had to tune in for every one of them, but it became easier and easier when we were in Sweden for 3 weeks together. So we came really close. I speak to several of them on social media and SMSs, and I see them there. Yeah, great people.
And Stellan, as the father figure, and your relationship with the family, and would you have some thoughts regarding working with them?
Yeah, I mean, it's since I've known Maria many years, and I know her family very well, and they have a wonderful home which is full of warmth, and there's always a lot of people in it. And when I came into that apartment that was built, it had the same texture, the same reality as Maria's real home, and that made me feel very comfortable. And those kids, you know, I have 8 kids, and Maria have, with her stepchildren, 6 kids. So we're used to kids around it, and they were not only very pleasant people, but they also immediately created relationships between each other, and things started to happen. So the apartment was full of life, which is exactly what you want. And it wasn't much more to do than go in there and try to survive.
I think I think one thing which was, you know, we didn't do a lot of yeah, we went to this trip, etc., but we didn't rehearse a lot.
Mm.
Everything happened there and then. And I think talking about how, you know, some families are physical to work, you know, and some are not. And I mean, this is different cultures, you know. So making these 6 kids who are not sisters, siblings or anything, how to make, you know, to get that contact. And that's where you guys were great. You know, it's about being playful. It's about, you know, making that family sculpture on the floor. You know, it's about saying me, it's not me directing it. It's me putting up a situation and saying, solve it, you know? And by that time, when they were doing this scene, they were, you know, they were comfortable. They were safe together. So they couldn't do all this stuff, you know?
They weren't afraid of us either.
No, exactly, you know? And that's, I think this movie was all about people, you know? And there was this friend of mine who said at a certain point that this movie it's overpopulated, you know? Yeah, and he said, I think, you know, it's not like a cancer movie, it's almost like a feel-good movie. Yeah, I don't think audience feels that, but still, yeah. But it's overpopulated. That's, yeah.
And it's unexpected, and it's moving, and it's one of those rare times you see when all the different elements that is required to make a good film come together. And I so appreciate you bringing this film to us and letting us share it with our audience for the series for your consideration. As I said to you earlier, it really is a gift. And I know you gave a lot, not intentionally in parts and very intentionally and otherwise, to bring this to us, and the journey you went through that culminated with this work of art, and to have both of you, Stellan and Andrea, involved in it, and is again a gift. So thank you for doing this. I hope when we get back to some semblance of normality, you can come and visit us in beautiful Marin County.
I would love that.
Valley Film Festival with another film together. Please keep making these movies. I know, Stellan, you have Dune coming up and other movies, and you're all working on different kinds of projects, but this is just so enjoyable and so important. So thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you so much, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.